Hello and welcome to the second part of the Scratch Football Soccer Heads tutorial. If you haven't watched the first part of the tutorial, then now would be a good time to stop because this tutorial is the second part and it probably won't be much use of you. If not, carry on. So what have we got? Well, so far we've got Scratch the cat. He walks about, which is great, and he can kick, which is great, and he can jump up and down, which is great. And we have a ball, which is great, and the ball, there we go, as you can see there, the ball has gravity that works on it, so it bounces up and down, it keeps it bouncing, until eventually it stops. Great. So now what we're going to do in this part of the tutorial is we're going to look at how when we kick the ball, it can actually move. So if you imagine here, if I kick it from this angle, if I kick it there, then it's probably going to go about that sort of angle up there. So how are we going to do this? Well, just like with player 1 x velocity and player 2 y velocity, we're going to have to calculate the velocity of this ball. But it's a little bit more complicated because with the ball, the velocity, the x and y velocities, they're going to depend on the angle at which it's kicked. Because if you think about it here, if you kick the ball up really high, there you go, like that sort of angle, then its y velocity, here we go, is going to increase quite a lot. Its speed that it goes up is going to be quite a lot, but his x velocity is not going to be not really a lot because it's not going to move across a lot. And if you kick the ball this way, then if you imagine if you kick it that way, then it's not going to go up a lot. Its y velocity isn't going to go up a lot, but its x velocity is going to go up a lot. And the combined x velocity and y velocity make up the direction and speed of travel, which is great. So how are we going to do that? Well, sadly, it's going to involve a little bit of maths. Now, I have an admission to make here. I'm not great at maths, but it's okay because it's only GCSE level, and if we go through it slowly enough, I should be able to get it, which hopefully means that if I can get it, you guys can get it first. So let's just take a bit of a pause and let's go into the theory. Okay, so a little bit of Scratch maths. Trigonometry, in fact, bit of trigonometry. So here we go. Here is our ball. Here's Scratch, and he kicks the ball, and there's the ball shooting off. And here we go. We know the speed. So let's say we know the speed that we're going to kick the ball. We're going to kick it at whatever. Let's call it 20. Good. So we're going to know the speed, and we're also going to know the angle that we kick it at, because the angle we kick it at, I'm just going to set it at whatever the angle is that Scratch's legs at that point in time are bent at. So if when we press, if we kick the ball, if when it touches the ball, Scratch's legs are bent up here, then it's going to be that angle, which is perfectly fine. So we know the speed it's going to be kicked at because we're going to set it at standard speed, or we can change it, and we know the angle. But what don't we know? Well, we need to calculate two things. First of all, we need to calculate the vertical velocity, how far up it goes. How fast up, or at least how fast it goes upwards, and we need to calculate the horizontal velocity here, how fast it goes across. So how are we going to do that? Well, if we think back to, if I think back to my GCSE maths, well, we had, using trigonometry, we had something like this, which was useful, which is the first part, if you remember in GCSE. If you've done GCSE trigonometry, we have something called SOHCAHTOA, if you've heard of that, and this is the first part of it. The sine angle equals the opposite over the hypotenuse. Now the opposite would be the vertical acceleration, and the hypotenuse is the speed here. So at the moment we know the angle, so we can do that bit here. We know the hypotenuse, so we got that bit there, but we need to find out the opposite. So if we rearrange that equation, we get that. There we go. So the opposite, which is going to be the vertical acceleration, equals sine whatever the angle is times by the hypotenuse, which is the speed. Excellent. So we can do that right now. Let's have a go at that. So what we need to do here is, let's just move our code out here. We're going to add it to the player 1 body because it's the legs that are going to be the kicking. to be doing the kicking. And let's have a go. Let's add a new start. Again, another forever loop. There's always lots of loops in these sorts of games. There we go. And we say if, well, on what condition here are we going to have the ball flying off there? Well, there's a nice simple, there's two things that need to happen. First of all, the player's got to be pressing spacebar to be kicking, because we don't want it to start flying off there unless you've actually kicked it. And there's no point making the ball fly off there unless it's actually touching the ball, unless the feet are actually touching the ball. So we need to have an and in there. Let's have a look. And so if spacebar is pressed, good stuff. Oops, so just hidden out there. And we are touching the ball. There we go, good. So if the spacebar is touched and we're pressed and we're touching the ball, what do we need to do? Well, we need to set the y velocity. We need to set the y velocity to, well, this is where our trigonometry comes in, because now what we need to do is we need to use this block down here, the square root, but we're not going to use the square root. We're going to use the sine. There we go. And it's the sine of, it's going to be whatever the direction that the body is facing in. So, direction, there we go. Sine of the direction, there we go, times by 20. And I'm going to use 20 at the moment. It doesn't have to be 20, but that's the speed I'm going to do for the bouncing ball. There we go. Perfect. 20. Good stuff. And that will set the velocity. But there's an issue, because at the moment, here we are, if we look at the legs, the starting direction of the legs isn't 0. So if you imagine our angle, really our angle should be 0 and should go 0, up through to 30, 45, 60, 90, because that's the angle that we would be doing for the angle on the triangle. But it doesn't start at that, it starts at 90. So what we need to do here is, it's not exactly right, it's not going to be the direction. What we need to do here is, it starts at 90 and it goes down, because if you look here, 90 down, up, which is what we're facing up, would be 0. So it actually is just slightly different. The calculation's still right, it's just because we're starting that sideways on, we need to change it slightly. There we go. And there you go. So it's going to be the sine of 90 minus the direction, because that way it's going to work out what the actual angle is, times by 20. There we go. Good. So whenever we press space, if we're touching the ball, we set the y velocity of the ball to sine 90 minus the direction times 20. Let's see if we can try that out. Here we go. Ah, there you go. Perfect. If you watch this now, watch that ball. There we go. Brilliant. It's kicking the ball. Perfect. Let's do a bit of keepy uppy. Good stuff. Wow, look at that. Brilliant. Perfect. So the y velocity is now sorted. Brilliant. Good. Which means that all we need to do now is we need to sort out the x velocity. So back to the mathematics. Here we go. Let's have a look. So horizontal velocity. There we go. The x velocity. So similar sort of thing as before. The hypotenuse again is the kick speed. The kick angle is there, which is going to be 90 minus whatever the direction is. And this time we're not calculating the opposite. We're calculating this one here, which is known as the adjacent. So how do we do that? Well, there we go. This time we use the cos, the ka part of the SOHCAHTOA, which is the cos angle equals the adjacent over hypotenuse rather than the opposite, which means that if we use a bit of magic and rearrange our formula, it will look like that. Oops, not like that. Not double equals. In fact, let's just get rid of that double equals. Let's try again. There we go. That's a bit better. So the adjacent equals cos, whatever the angle is, but that's going to be 90 minus the angle, I think, to make it work, multiplied by the hypotenuse, which is going to be the speed. Good. So let's go through and let's get that added. Here we go. So similar thing to before, so we might as well just duplicate that one. This time it's not going to be the y velocity, it's going to be the x velocity, and it equals, let's have a look, here we go. cos of 90 minus direction times by 20. Hopefully that might work now. Oops. Oh, not player 1 x velocity, that's no good. It's the ball x velocity. But the reason that's not doing is because we haven't created a ball x velocity. There we go. So let's just stop that, make a variable ball x velocity. Okay, good. So we've got the ball x velocity, there it is. We've set that to ball x velocity. Brilliant. And that's all set well and good there. So at the moment, if we, oops, let's press play. There we go. If we press the kick button, it does set the ball x velocity. If you look at it here, it is setting it, which is good. It's setting the ball x velocity, but it's not actually moving. And the reason is because at the moment we've only attached the ball, got the ball to move using the y velocity, which is that one there. So now what we need to do is need to do a similar thing with the x velocity. So let's add a similar thing when start clicked. Here we go. And let's start off by setting at the start of the game, the x velocity is going to be to 0. And we're going to have another forever loop. There we go, another forever loop. So what's it going to go? What's it going to do? Well, there we go. There we go. Let's have a look. We need to change the x, just like we've done here, change the x by the ball x velocity. So let's have a go. Change x by ball x velocity. Ball x velocity. Good. So there's the first part. So let's see if that works now. So if we press space, there we go. It kicks it over there. Let's have another go. Perfect. But if you notice there, the problem we got there, of course, now is that the ball x velocity doesn't ever slow down. It keeps going. That stays there. So it'll never, if we move it back over here whilst the game is running, it'll never go back. So what have we got to do? Well, what we need to do here is we need to say, because obviously it needs to slow down a bit. In fact, before we do that, should we get it bouncing? So if the x velocity is going over there and it hits a wall, then we need to bounce it back over that way. So it goes bum, 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 and it bounces around. So how do you do that? Well, we need to say here, if its x position, if you look at where the x is here, if its x position goes over, let's say, greater than 235, then we need to switch its velocity and reverse its velocity. So let's have a go at that. So if its x position is greater than 235, good stuff, then we need to set the x velocity, ball x velocity, to, and we do this switch around again, 0 minus whatever its velocity is. And that just flips it around, ball x velocity. So that hopefully, if we start that now, let's have a go. There you go. So now we've got a ball that bounces around. It goes that way, and then again, let's just demonstrate that again. Let's just press play. If we kick it, there we go. Perfect. Perfect. There you go. It bounces back. But now we've got it bouncing back, we also need to get it to bounce off that wall as well. So similar thing, but this time, instead of if the x velocity is going to be, if the x position is greater than 235, we need to do it so if it's less than, what would that value be? Minus 235. There we go. There we go. And again, we reinvert it. There you go. So the ball x velocity is the other way around. So let's have a go at that, shall we? Kick that. Let's have a look, run that, play. And then it's bouncing there, it bounces there, it bounces there. Brilliant. Okay, good stuff. Great. Now, as you could probably see right now, there's one slight, small, tiny little problem in that the ball keeps bouncing forever. And that's because there's no drag on the ball. There's no friction, there's no air friction, there's no touching the ground friction. So we need to add a bit of friction to that equation. And what we want to say is if the velocity is greater than 0, we need to dampen it by lowering it down a bit, because that means if it's going that way, it slows down that way. And if it's less than 0, so it's going this way, we also need to slow it down. So let's have a go. Let's have a go at that first. Let's put that here. That's not liking that. Let's put that there. So if the ball's velocity, if the ball velocity there is greater than 0, there we go. The ball velocity is greater than 0. There we go. If the ball velocity is greater than 0, then we'll just minus a little bit off. So change the velocity, change the ball velocity by, let's do a little bit, let's do, don't need to slow down too quickly, so let's do change minus 0.1, there you go. So if its ball velocity is greater than 0, we do it by that much, and here we go. And we'll do the same thing here. If the ball velocity is less than 0, let's just grab that there. If the ball velocity is less than 0, then we do the same thing, change it, but this time we're not going to decrease it, we're going to increase it. Let's see if that works. So let's just kick that around there. Good stuff. It's bouncing there. And perfect. Brilliant. Let's try that again. Let's have a go. Kick that one. Brilliant. Brilliant. Good. Oh, we can even do like a little volley there, can't we? Good. Brilliant. Sorted. So now we've got it. So that's, let's have a quick look. Let's press play there. So if we kick the ball, it bounces off. Good. There we go. Let's kick that. And there we go. Good stuff. There we go. So we kick the ball, it bounces off, and if we let it go, it'll slow down ever so softly. Good stuff. Brilliant. Perfect. So now what we're going to do is we've got player 1, we've got player 1's body, we've got the ball, which is great. So now what we really want is a second player. Good. So let's add a second player. Let's duplicate player 1, and let's duplicate player 1's body. Good stuff. Let's go to the costumes. Let's change player 2 to a greeny blue colour. We've got paint. There we go. We'll paint his head there. Let's paint his body there. Good. Oh, I don't know what I've done there. Let's paint the body as well. Paint his arms and his legs. Good. Good. Now, there we go. There's his head. There's his body. Brilliant. Perfect. Is that the right? That's a bit dark now, isn't it? It's added a slightly light colour. There we go. We'll make it a little bit lighter because it seems to have got a bit darker there. Good. Brilliant. There we go. Oh, no, let's undo that slightly. Just painted his arm. Oh, no. There we go. Good. So there's player 2. Let's rename that. Let's call this player 2 head. Go back. Let's call that player 2 body. There we go. And let's switch him around. Use the flip. Oh, there we go. His head's gone around a bit. Gone a bit excess. There we go. Perfect. Good. Now, we've got a bit of an issue here because if you look at the moment, player 2's head goes exactly where player 2's body goes exactly where player 2's head is. And we do some weird thing here. And the reason being is that we haven't created any of these variables here for player 2 or set them. So let's go in here. We're going to need a player 1 velocity, a player 2 velocity, and a player 2 x velocity, and a player 2 y velocity. So P2x velocity. Good for all sprites. Excellent. And player 2x velocity. Player 2y. Player 2y velocity. Good stuff. And now what we need to do is we should go through here, and anywhere where it says player 1y velocity, change that to player 2y velocity. Player 2y velocity. Player 2y velocity. Just take care here, make sure you swap the right ones. You could make a mistake. Make sure if it's X, it's X. If it's Y, it's Y. That's x, that's x, that's x, that's... Oh, they almost made a mistake there. X, and that's x as well, but let's play 2x velocity. So let's get rid of that one. Let's put that there. Good. So, and then change y by play a 2y velocity. Play a 2y velocity. Play a 2y velocity. Was that right? Have I just taken that from that one? Let's just check. Yeah, that's right. Player 1, player 2, player 2. Good, okay, good. And let's just check the body there. Ball, ball, soccer ball, ball. Yeah, that looks okay. Let's have a go. Let's try that again. Oops. Nope, something's not quite right. Let's check the head. Ah, there you go. That's where it's at. It's there. Player 2 head. Player 2 head. Let's try that again. Yeah, perfect. Good. So now we're both on there. We're both on track. What's happening here is, I would say, most likely, if we go to the costumes, look at the... There you go. So let's have a look. Where's that at? So that's going to there. Let's check that. Let's check that's in the same place. That goes to there. That goes to there. They're in the same place. Let's go to the body. That goes to the middle of there. That goes to the middle of there, but a little bit further back, isn't it? Let's have a look. That's almost to the middle front, and that's at the back. So we just need to move it slightly forward. There you go. Perfect. There we go, brilliant. So now, there you go, there's our next problem. Here we go, we're dancing. So, we need to do the controls for player 2. And for player 2 controls, let's do, here we go. Let's have a look, which we're going to do for jump. So jump for player 2 would be the up arrow, and there we go. Right would be the right arrow, left would be the left arrow, and that's okay, good stuff. Let's just try that now. There you go, brilliant. So he's bouncing around, which is good. Although he's sort of moving about a bit, so we'll have to just check that. Looks like he's not slowing down, so we'll just have to check that in a minute. But he's almost there. And his body, let's have a look. Spacebar. We're not going to do spacebar. Let's do that with. Let's go with P. Let's do P because that's over that side, isn't it? Let's try that. So we go there. Yeah, and he's kicking. Good stuff. There is a slight issue. He's kicking. He's going the wrong way. So let's just stop him there. And he's kicking here. That's because those are going that way around. So let's do that. Good stuff. Let's try that. And at the moment he's not slowing down, so there's no dampening on his these ones here. There it is. Play a 2x velocity and play a 2x velocity. Let's try that. Again, just got to make sure you swap the ball over. It takes a little bit of time. There we go. That's more like it. And if we do up, up, left, right, and then we kick the ball, good stuff. If we kick the ball, perfect. Okay, good. So we're doing all right there, and we're now kicking in the right direction because we swapped those. Now let's have a look. If touching, here we go. This time it's going to be P again. Perfect, brilliant. Now we've got a slight issue here because he's kicking it the wrong way, and the reason he's kicking it the wrong way is because we need to swap this. We need to make it negative. So just on the y velocity, not the y velocity, just the x velocity needs to be negative. So what we'll do here is take that, put that naught, there you go, and then take that and put that in there. And that hopefully, I think, might fix it. I don't know, but we'll find out. Let's have a go. Let's kick that over there. Now if we kick it, there we go, perfect. So if he kicks that way, which is great, and then he kicks it that way, we can, oh, if I was any good, we could have a go at this. There you go, he could kick it there, we could have a game of keepy uppy. Brilliant. There we go. Good. Now there is a slight issue with the ball. If you look at the ball here, the ball, it usually stops, but look at that there, it's sort of edging its way along, and that's because its velocity is dropped below a certain amount, but it's still got a tiny amount of velocity. So what we want to do here is we want to say, you know what, if the velocity is less than 1, let's just stop it. Let's just stop it, then it's 0, isn't it? So let's add there, here we go. So, and we'll add this at the bottom, here we go. So if the x velocity is less than 1, if the x velocity, oh, where's that at? The ball x velocity. If the ball x velocity is less than 1, then we'll just set it to 0. And actually, if the ball x velocity is greater than -1, we'll do the same. Greater than -1, again, we'll set it to 0. And that should, hopefully, let's have a look. Let's just find out. Let's just try kicking it, hopefully. Oh! It would help if I changed that to the right one, wouldn't it? Ball x velocity, ball x velocity. Let's just kick that. Kick. Brilliant. There we go. We're going to go there. Let's move him back there. Let's kick it. Oops. There we go. Ah, okay. There we go. Right, the reason big here is if it's greater than 1, okay, in that case, we'll use an and, we'll put them in together there. So if it is less than 1 and it's greater than -1, there we go, then we'll set it that way. We'll do a double and, that's better. So that's nice and neater anyway. There we go. That's better. There we go. So hopefully now, as it watches, it slows down. Once it gets less than 1, oops, we've got a slight issue there. I'll have to find out what's happening there. There's something bounced off there. I don't know what happened there. There we go. There's a slight glitch there. We'll have to find out, see what happens later, obviously. See if that comes back into play. It might be just because it's just over on this edge here. Let's do 239. We might have to change these to 239 and -239 to stop that. Let's have a look. -239. I wonder if that will work. However, I've just broken that. Let's have a look. I think it's because it was just a little bit. That seems to solve that, doesn't it? Let's just have a look. I think it's because it was a little bit. These work quite -239. Let's have a look. Let's try that. Let's change that to the other feet on that one as well. Oh no, it only needs to go on the ball, so we're okay. Good. Right. And that should be okay. That should be okay. Although my play seems to have dropped there. I don't know why that's doing that. We'll fix that in a bit. Perfect. Good stuff. Okay, so we're just about done for the second part of the tutorial. We've now got 2 players, and both players can kick the ball, which is brilliant. Good. So in the third part of the tutorial, we're going to look at how we can add some goals, and we'll add a scoring system. Thank you very much.